Good morning and welcome to our NCP update. Sorry, hold on. Sorry about that. Good morning and welcome to our Northern Colorado Prospers update. We're thrilled to have you all here. For those of you that I haven't met yet, I'm Ann Hutchison. I'm the Executive Vice President here at the Chamber. And it's my pleasure to turn our meeting over to David May, our President and CEO. David.
Thank you, Ann. Good morning, everybody. Good to see all of you, and thank you for joining us on behalf of the NCP Advisory Council and the Chamber Board of Directors. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for being an investor in Northern Colorado Prospers. So what we want to do today is give you an update on where we are with our goals. This is our quarterly update that we've been providing to investors. And starting at the bottom line first, we're making really good progress on our goals. And so we'll start there. At the very outset, I want to thank our NCP Advisory Council. These folks put in time providing us with leadership, and you can see their photos and their names here. But Jerry Agnes with Elevations Credit Union, Kerry Baumgart, Markley Motors, Clay Benson Mortensen, Gene Bocas with AB, Mike Dellenbaugh Motors, Dan Dirksen with Saunders Heath, Sean Osthoff, Bank of Colorado, Kurt Richardson, Auto Products, Nicole Stodinger, First Bank, Steve Stiesmeyer, Woodward, Stephanie Tubner with Blue Federal Credit Union, Yuval Wasserman, Advanced Energy, Connie Doan, Doan Construction, and Jim Cecil with Brinkman Partners. So just a shout out to all of you guys for helping us with this, and you provide a great insight and leadership. We really appreciate that. So we wanted to start out, one of the things that we've done throughout the last 6 months as we've dealt with the situation with COVID is to try to get feedback on a regular basis from our members and our investors. And so we wanted to do that with you today. It's just kind of get a quick poll from all of you. And if you take time to just fill this out, and then we'll talk about it just briefly. So first question up here, as you can see, is your annual growth, company growth, your head count up, neutral, down, company growth in terms of sales up, neutral, down. In the next 6 to 12 months, how do you expect your company's growth compared to today? And then is your confidence in recovery up, neutral, or down over the next 6 to 12 months? Let me give you a moment to fill those out. And the numbers are so 17% say your head count is up, 39% of held, and 44% down. Annual company in terms of growth in terms of sales. Look at that. That's amazing. A third, up, neutral, and down. Next 6 to 12 months, how do you expect company's growth compared to today? So 56% are saying up, 39% neutral, and only 6% down. That's pretty remarkable. And then in the period ahead, as far as sales, 56% up, about 40% are neutral, and 6% down. And is your confidence in recovery in Northern Colorado economy next 6 months? 39% up, 56% down, 56% neutral, and 6% down. So interesting. Okay. And I don't know, Ann, how that compares to anything else we've seen, but that's actually a fairly optimistic picture. So thank you guys for participating. So we want to brief you on these goals, and want to cover a couple of these fairly quickly. We've talked about them in the past, but the goal on I-25, as you know, is for us to get the funding in place by the end of 2025 to widen the 27 miles from Fort Collins down to Longmont at Highway 66, where it opens up as you head southbound. And so we made good progress on this goal. You know it from the construction work that's going on out there right now. And so from a progress point of view, it's great progress. Over $900 million have been secured in funding. We've had to fight to keep some of those dollars in this COVID environment that we're in. We've had to backfill some of those dollars with a major federal loan called TIFIA that's underway right now. I think a key thing to point out for you is that as much good work is taking place out there today, it is over in 3 years. So we've stockpiled funding that'll carry us through the next 3 construction seasons. And then after that, we don't have any more money in the pipeline. So staying focused on this matters to the region. We've got a stretch of highway that runs from basically Johnstown south to Highway 66, about an 11-mile stretch there that still needs to get widened out. So that's the work that's in front of us there. We'll stay on this. There's a team that's been in place. Some of you actually on this call are on the Fix North I-25 Steering Committee. And so thank you for your work on this one. So far, so good on this project. And let me turn over at this time. We're going to talk about our talent initiative, and Ann Hutchinson, our Executive Vice President, is going to share that update with you.
Thanks, David. As you're all very aware, our goal number 2 is around aligning, attracting, and retaining our workforce talent. Since we last talked to you, we did host our virtual talent summit. For those of you that weren't able to attend, we encourage you to check it out online. We've had over 300 people download the video since the event. So it's a great opportunity to gain some insight into what's happening with talent across the country, but especially what's happening here in Northern Colorado, and then some suggestions and ideas relative to working in this pandemic and remote environment. We are also then retooling Work in Northern Colorado. It's been a great talent platform for us, and we've got about a year under our belts with this product. But the exciting news is we applied for and are in the midst of receiving an Economic Development Administration grant that will help us to really move the dial on these items you're seeing on the screen. So we're going to be able to target messages very specifically to the talent you need across the country. We're going to be able to add some additional functionality to the site, which again is already very popular, already doing some good things, but we're going to be able to up that even higher based on this funding that we're receiving from the federal government. So it's an exciting time relative to talent. We know that we've got an interesting space ahead of us. Some of you, I know, have been taking full advantage of the change in the environment and are finding some talent that you couldn't find before. Others are really struggling. So we'll continue to work hard to make sure that we create and maintain the talent that you need here in Northern Colorado. We're going to jump very quickly to goal number 4, and then we'll jump back to goal number 3. But goal number 4 is around retaining existing businesses. So it's our business retention and expansion effort. We just wanted to let you know that we continue to be in contact with our primary employers throughout Northern Colorado. And we've been a part of a team that's been doing some survey work. Just about every 6 to 8 weeks through the pandemic, we've been able to talk to business and gain some insight. That insight then is allowing us to make policy decisions or to encourage policy decisions, as well as to create products and resources to help business be successful. If you're interested in the full results, you can go here to the READY site, the Northern Colorado, Choose Northern Colorado is the website. That's a space where all of us work together as economic developers to make the area successful. But some highlights, just to give you a sense. This is our last poll that we did and the results that came out. It's fairly interesting when you think about the results that we just saw on the screen with your own polling that shows people are starting to get anxious. There's not quite the sense of optimism that maybe we saw about 3 months ago. I think the further we get into this pandemic, the further that we begin to understand the impact. I think this will be interesting to see what people expect and where revenues are planning to go. Additionally, then changes to business activities. I found this data point to be very interesting, that people are fully appreciating change in customer wants or needs, as well as this online presence and the requirement of that in order to be successful in this new environment. And then we dig a little bit further relative to, again, optimism. It's down a bit. Unfortunately, we're starting to have people say, we've made it through, but things are still going to be tough hoeing for us moving ahead. And then finally, how long do people think it will take us to recover from the pandemic? And we've remained in this space of 1 to 5 years through this polling over time, and expect that we'll probably stay in that space with our business friends for a while. So let me turn it back over to David to talk about goal number 3, our Bold Voice of Business efforts.
Great, Ann, thank you. So this is the place where we probably had the biggest deviation from what we planned to do and what we've had to do with the support of the advisory council and with the board of directors. Nobody's planned to start the year dealing with a COVID pandemic, and so we've had to deal with that. We've all made hard pivots to deal with it as we've had to. So we've gone through a whole multiple stages, as all of you have as well, to immediately respond to the government mandates to keep people safe and do the kind of things we need to do. We moved then quickly into this reopening phase. How can we operate starting in May in a safe way? And then late in May, our board of directors began to spend time looking ahead at what we could do further into the future, which I'll talk about in a minute. We've done a whole series of things. You've been subjected to all that. We've been sending all those emails out to you and invitations to various meetings. And so we provided, particularly early on, lots of information about business relief programs, funding that was available, et cetera. And so we did a lot of that in conjunction with our other partner chambers in the region. A lot of the resources that we've created have been extremely helpful. You saw some mentioned by Kevin Unger and others on the video, but we lit up a one-stop shop called NOCOrecovers.com. We had an open for business page, and still do, where we've been able to help our members communicate their availability of services and their hours, et cetera, to the public. And we back that up with social media campaign. Bringing business home, we've focused the good work that a lot of companies are doing, responding to the pandemic on that particular website. Fort Collins, forfortcollins.com is a site that has lots of information about how to reopen safely. And then NOCO Safety Supply has been a place where we've been able to create a marketplace really for PPE, where people can find each other, sellers and buyers. We also lit up a $5 million loan program. We did this in conjunction with Bohemian Foundation, the city of Fort Collins. Roughly, there have been over 100 companies that have taken out loans. About $4 million of loans have gone out. We've raised the funds, so it's a matter now of processing out the remaining loans. All kinds of communication has gone out. As I've mentioned before, we're in this space right now where we want to stay out of the COVID doghouse. You begin to see seasonal spikes beginning to take place with flu, and now again with a resurgence with the COVID-19. And so we want to make sure that we are communicating safe practices both to business and to the public. And so you see that with the Keep NOCO Open campaign that we've been pushing. And then we've been doing also throughout all the 6-month period of time, we've been communicating to our friends in local and state government to do no harm and to be helpful to business as much as they can. This has shown itself in a variety of ways, but Examples would be just reminding them to be lenient on sign code and restaurant openings and outside dining and a variety of things like that that allow companies to still continue to function, but do it in a way that didn't fit the old patterns of doing things. These are just some of the sites that we've mentioned. I think we shared these with you a few months back. So coming up for us, we want to continue to push out the Keep NOCO Open messaging about responsible reopening as quickly as we can. We are in the process of recruiting candidates for city council. Those elections are in April of next year. Continue to lobby on good policies for electricity generation. So this gets into Platte River Power Authority, major push by Sierra Club and others to close down any fossil fuel power generation sources by the year 2030. And while that sounds attractive to many people, from a practical business point of view, it is really, really problematic, primarily from a reliability point of view. And so we've been all over this space in a variety of ways in terms of convening businesses, connecting them with the Platte River Power Authority board, communicating directly with those board members to make sure that our business primary power users are communicating their concerns directly. So we'll know later this month where this ends up, but it looks like they're going to stay in a kind of a central, fairly reasonable path that shouldn't cause any problems on reliability issues. And then this last piece is we spent a lot of time beginning in late May around Memorial Day to talk about what do we do to understand what's happened to the Northern Colorado economy and how do we participate in a rebuilding process and encourage that. And so we've done that, and we want to share some of that story with you a little bit. So we've co-chaired a group called Reignite Northern Colorado. It's made up of the economic development planning groups all throughout Northern Colorado. And the mission is to make sure that we are creating a plan to replace the lost regional domestic product and the jobs that we lost during the COVID-19. So we've been meeting as a full group every week since May. And then we've got 6 subgroups that are doing work in between times. So we've spent a significant amount of time saying, in addition to the response and the reopening work, we're looking past that, not past it, but in addition to that, we're looking into the future and saying, what can we do to rebuild the economy? So you see the phases here: analyze, understand, business engagement, strategy development, and then make sure that we are executing on that plan. We're well into this analyzing and understanding piece. The business engagement, we are doing a series of focus groups starting this week with our members, in addition to all the other input we've been getting from all of you. And then strategy development. I'm sending out an RFP today. We're hiring an economic planning firm that will be leading us through an economic planning process. So anyway, a lot on this chart. I'm not planning to cover this with you. You can look at it as you have time, but just recognize this is a concerted effort, and we're right in the middle of all of this work and driving a lot of this conversation. One of the key decisions that we made in this process is right up front was to say that it's easy just to go out and do stuff, but let's be smart. And the smarter thing would be to really be data-driven and understand what's happening to our economy, and that will then drive public policy and other things that we can advocate for. And so you're seeing some of the indicators we're tracking, and I'm going to turn it back over to Ann. But this is one of we put a data group in place. It's one of the 6 subcommittees that I told you about that are at work. And these are some of the results that these are fresh off the press as of yesterday.
Thanks, David. As David said, data is incredibly important as we begin to build this plan. This is a sample of metrics that we have been measuring, but now we're going to measure to a deeper level, and we're going to make available to the larger community to understand what is happening with our economy. So I'm going to end up just clicking through these, but it gives you a sense of what is important to us at this point in time in understanding our economic landscape. You know, unemployment insurance claims, initial claims. So that here's the data that we've been, again, tracking through the pandemic, begins to give you a sense of where are we at relative to recovery. Another space is the continued claims. So not only when people first potentially access unemployment insurance, but how long are they staying on that resource. We're then following through with understanding what's the size of our workforce. Are we losing people? Are people checking out of the workforce after struggles, or are they coming back in? Labor force, some additional labor force information. We also want to track job posting. It gives us a sense of how quickly businesses being able to recover, to bring people back, to expand. And again, these are all draft and will live online, but we wanted you to be some of the very first people in our community to see the design, the insights, and the information. Certainly, sales tax is an important part of the equation. Again, it's one of those metrics that we can track on a very regular basis. At the same time, we will be looking at larger GDP, but we know that those numbers are going to be trailing and not as readily available for us. Some additional retail sales insights. Hotels and occupancy is another key indicator for us here in Northern Colorado. Huge dependency upon visitors, tourism, those nights in beds. And again, this gives you a starting sense of where we're at. Great to see Estes Park actually was able to maintain a season, but you can see certainly Fort Collins, we are struggling in this space. Another indicator is how much money those hoteliers are able to charge for their individual rooms. Again, part of their pro forma, part of their success. And then median home prices, always an important indicator for us, always something that we're tracking that gives you a sense of where we're at relative to home sales. And then finally, commercial real estate, understanding what's our vacancy rate, where are our holes, where are our opportunities, and how do we move forward. And the manufacturer's use tax is an important indicator as well. Again, are companies keeping cash? Are they spending their cash? Are they adding to their capital? How quickly can they begin to recover? Again, a work in progress, but we look forward to bringing you more data as we dive deeper.
Great, Ann. Thank you very much. Again, the point of all that wasn't to go through those in great detail, as Ann just went through them very quickly. We wanted to introduce them to you, and as she said, we want you to be some of the first to see this. So you'll have this information available to you. You can do a deeper dive. We wanted you to also see this because it's part of this rebuilding, a focus that we're going to have going forward as a community. And even in the polling data that Ann shared a minute ago, people are looking out 1 to 5 years and recognize that we've got a bit of an economic hole to dig out of. So this is the beginning of that process for us, is just to make sure we understand before we begin to flail around out there with any kind of economic program. We want to make sure we're very smart and targeted and data driven about that. So anyway, we want you to have that and be some of the first to see it. That sets up the conversation on where we go from here. So we are in year 4 of a 5-year key strategic initiative, Northern Colorado Prospers. So what happens after this? And we still have a lot of work to do on all of the things we've talked about. And then this last one particularly, we need to make sure we understand what you want us focused on going forward as far as economic rebuilding and of the economy. So our leaders have been talking about Northern Colorado Prospers 2.0. Is there a follow-on campaign that we should be doing? And the preliminary answer from the Investor Advisory Council, the Board of Directors, has been yes. We need to explore this and determine whether there's support to do a campaign going forward. So they've approved a feasibility study, and that is underway right now. Sean McCullough with Power 10 is one of our investors. He's waving there on the screen. He's a fundraising consultant based in Atlanta. And so he did our Northern Colorado Prospers campaign for us originally. Many of you had a chance to meet him and talk with him 4 years ago. He is out in the field again right now. He's done 7 interviews with some of our top investors at this point. And as of yesterday, we had another 40 interviews lined up for him. So we're going through, we spent a lot of time as an exec committee, as an investor advisory council, and as a staff developing a case for support on where we're going to go. So we'll be in touch with a lot of our investors over the next couple of weeks and get feedback on how we've done so far and whether you have any interest in tackling the things that you'll see in this case for support going forward. So at this point, we've got about 15 minutes left, and we know we ran through this all very quickly this morning, but we wanted to make sure we left time for you to ask any questions that you may have of us, either as a staff or as leaders on the Investor Advisory Council. So you can raise your hand using that feature. You can put a question in chat, and we'd love to answer your questions.
So John Shaw, it looks like you have a question. Go ahead.
Sure. Good morning. Thanks for hosting. It's great information. I just wanted to share one of the challenges that we're having with most of the cities moving forward is the time frame to obtain permits for signage, and it's really gotten delayed. We used to tell everybody the city of Fort Collins was the best city to deal with statewide because they were so fast. We would take a one-page permit application, bring it into Peter Barnes. He would look at it and he would hand us back a permit across the counter about 5 minutes later if everything was right. That process has stalled to 2 weeks, a month. In Fort Collins, it's really gotten slow. In other cities, we're doing a new location for Paul Woodley in Centennial. It took 3 months to get a sign permit. And most of that, people are working from home, things like that. So we'd like to see if there's a way that we could address that with the city of Fort Collins to maybe keep things moving forward at a better rate.
Thank you, John. So Ann taking notes there, so we'll look into that. And I don't know whether, Ann, you picked this up from any of our other companies.
No, this is the first time I've heard that. So thank you so much for sharing, John. Good news is right after this meeting, I'm having a chat with Sana Kindle, who is the recovery manager for the city of Fort Collins and has proven to be a fantastic advocate in this policy space. So hopefully I'll have some insight for you ASAP, and hopefully we can get it fixed even faster.
Thanks, Ann. We'd love to actually get in front with NOAA and maybe some of the other staff there to see what we can do to help facilitate that. So thanks so much.
Other questions?
Oh, looks like Pete's got a question.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Pete.
Pete Gasley. Pete is our immediate past chair of the chamber. Pete?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you. Very impressed with the dashboard for measuring the reignition of the economy, and I think you guys did a great job of pivoting. So as we get out of crisis mode and into more recovery and sustaining, how are we actually working with the partners to focus on the economy? What is that looking like kind of now going forward?
Yeah, thanks, Pete. Good question. If there's anything that's good that's come out of all of this, it's we already had good partnerships with a lot of our economic development friends in the region and the city of Fort Collins, Economic Health Office, et cetera. It has dramatically strengthened those relationships. And we are in harness with all these folks, good partnerships. The Reignite program was really interesting. And you all as a board of directors were some of the first to be a part of that conversation when we had our retreat in May. And we started talking about reigniting. As soon as we took that idea out and began to talk with our economic development friends, they were all over it. They were all thinking about it as well, and readily came to the table. And we've been focused on that going forward. So it's been really good. And I think people have been they've left all their egos at the door. The territorialism that sometimes you see with economic development kind of stuff, all that's gone. And so anyway, I think it's been really powerful. And you may want to add to that as well, but very impressed with our partners, very impressed with the work that they're doing, very impressed with the kind of the spirit and the attitude brought to it. And then I think, and they knew this about us. I think, however, that our standing and our ability to get things done, and I put a lot of this on Ann, has impressed them. They've seen us be fleet and be proactive and be aggressive in moving things forward. And so anyway, it's a great question. I appreciate that, Pete, but I feel really good about it.
I'll just add in, David, that the funding that we have in place because of Northern Colorado Prospers has also provided this opportunity for us to be a full partner with these government entities. And in fact, as David used the word fleet, and I think that that's a very appropriate word, we've been able to make some decisions on behalf of the partner group and take action on behalf of the partner group because we had funding in place to be able to turn on NOCO Recovers, to inspire a social media contract with a local firm in order to push Keep NOCO Open. We had the dollars in place to be able to do that because of this campaign. And now our partners are oftentimes reimbursing us for the majority of those costs. But we were able to move the dial quickly because we had resources and contacts in place that made a difference. So it really has to do a lot with the investment that you as our partners have made in us to be able to move the dial and do what needs to be done for our community.
And I think you'll see some enduring benefits that will come from this too, Pete. I think what will happen is we will restructure the entire kind of economic development infrastructure in Northern Colorado. It will be much more aligned, much clearer in terms of its purpose. There'll be an economic plan for the first time in the region's history by the time we're done with this work. So where does that take us over the next 1 to 5 years? I think one of the things that we've been talking about here is a lot of the basic economic drivers have been adversely affected by what has happened with COVID-19. And we've been preaching that for pre-COVID times about being intentional about understanding our economic drivers and what's happening to them. That conversation now has gone from being this fringe discussion by the Chamber of Commerce to central conversation. So if there's anything good out of this bad thing, it's that we're going to be much more focused, forward focused, and in alignment than we ever have been. Other questions for us? Anything else? Yes, go ahead, John. Got you on mute. There you go.
No, I was just saying, thanks for hosting. You guys did a great job with all the information there. You guys are Zoom experts.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And let me wrap up. We're in our final, we have another comment come in here. Okay, thank you, Sean. Appreciate that. I just want to wrap up by saying thank you to all of you. Ann said it really well a moment ago, but you've changed what we've been able to do. And in many ways, you've changed the face of Northern Colorado. When you drive through the construction zone on North I-25, while you're grumbling about having to dodge barrels and go through those changes, those lane changes, some of that's on you. And we've been able to move the dial on those issues because you put resources behind us, and people like Carl Maxey and others that are on this call that have been part of our Fix North I-25 Business Alliance. It's made all the difference in the world. And so thank you for that. When you look at the tools that we've created for talent recruitment through workinnortherncolorado.com and some of the other work that Ann talked about, that's on you guys. The work that we are doing to pivot and focus on economic rebuilding is on you guys. And I just can't thank you enough. And I know in some ways it's a small thing for some of you. In other ways, it's a sacrifice for you to do this kind of work. But we've tried to make the best possible use that we can of the resources, and we're proud of the results we've gotten, and hope you are too. So thank you for that. If you've got questions about any of this stuff as a follow-on, contact us. I'm happy to talk to teams. I see Nathan Hewitt has been on the call here. I briefed his bank board a while back. I'm happy to have conversations with your management teams. If you have a board of directors, happy to do that, and so on. And you see my contact information here and my number. So just call if you've got any questions about any of this. And let me end it with just a big, huge thank you. Can't do this without you. You've made a big difference. And as we go forward, I hope you'll give consideration to where we're headed in the future. Thank you much. We are adjourned. Bye-bye all. Thanks.